For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a kind of pitching video on a awning from Quest. So with me here today I've got the Quest Falcon Air Canopy. So with me today I've got the 400 model. So just to kind of show you how quick and easy it is to pitch this. Perfect kind of sort of inflatable canopy, ideal for the likes of just a bit of extra shelter for the front of the canopy. And we've got our own kind of Attwoolls review video talking about it, but I thought I'd just give you a bit more of a sort of show you kind of how it goes all together. Just perfect for those weekend trips, or if you want something that's sort of a little bit longer, it also works well. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to kind of just spread it out, locate where the sort of cater beading is. Just that way it makes it a lot easier to kind of feed directly through the awning rail itself. So make sure it's not all tangled up. That's the little strap on the bottom. And now all we then do is feed it directly through the rail. You can have a second pair of hands to this, but personally I think it's quite lightweight, but it shouldn't be too hard to do on your own. Key thing is obviously making sure it doesn't snag at any point when it goes through the rail itself. For me, I know by positioning it underneath the rail, it tends to work a bit nicer all the way through. Makes it easier sometimes with a second pair of hands just to navigate it through. But once it's kind of on, the main part of it's on, you haven't got to worry too much about it already. It's always that bit that catches. Right, so that should, he says, just now pull on. So once we've kind of got onto the rail, position it where we want it to be. So this is the 4 metre, so you kind of want to cover the front door a little bit. So I'm just going to make sure that beam is nice and neatly in there, and then just bring the canopy out a little bit more. So there's a footing strap, basically like a webbing buckle clip. So you can actually unclip that. So if, like you here, someone's packed it away and got it all tangled, makes life a lot easier just to simply unbuckle that and reposition it quite nice and neatly. Once we've gone to that point now, and we're kind of happy with the position of it, what we're going to do is basically insert the Boston valve. So it's basically the main kind of inflation point which you'll find on kind of the front left-hand side as we look at it now. So all we'll do is basically feed that directly in. What I'd recommend is give it a little sort of countersink before putting it in. That way you make sure it's actually properly in the groove and you're not sort of cross-threading it. After this point here, I shall chuck the frisbee. We'll get our manual pump. So a stirrup pump comes supplied as standard with it. And all you're going to do is basically just make sure you attach it on. Merely pop the pump directly onto the front of it, and then you're good to start pumping. You can look to buy an electric pump if you wanted to do it for you, but to be honest with me, because it's such just one single tube and then one brace of tubes that basically feeds back to the awning, it doesn't really take an awful lot of pumping, as hopefully you will see. Generally it is quite a large tube, so it is quite big in diameter, so it will take kind of more air than you necessarily do think. So that's where you can obviously, by buying an electric pump, press a button, sit back, relax, let it do all the work. From a pressure point of view, we're only looking really to get around about 7 psi into the tube itself. So again, it's not really a high pressure, but because of the sort of sheer diameter of the tube, it is quite sturdy once it's physically up. You can see the tube's now starting to take a bit more shape. Naturally, because there's two sizes of the Falcon canopy, you can get a 400 or a 300. Naturally, the 300 is a little bit easier to pitch, just because, well, there's less air to it. Once we get to about sort of 3 psi, we can kind of pop it up into place. be a little bit softer, but at least that kind of gives you a bit more of a shape to it. And also means it's not going to get sort of pinned back in on itself. And then we just basically increase that little pressure again a bit firmer. Perfect. Pull the pump out. That element of it is done. All we're then going to do is obviously make sure we'll probably do the front guide points, i.e. the storm straps, just to get it nice and firm. What I would recommend doing, I'm using my own pegs just to save reusing these, but start with the middle one first. Again, just to get that extra bit of tension directly in. So we can see straight away, it helps to get that roof looking really nice and taut. Doesn't matter too much about that, because by the time we sort of play around with this element of it, these straps will still kind of remain. In fact, yeah, see me going back right over, I'll just quickly pop this in, just temporary for the time being. So you actually do on the, certainly this model here, you've got tubes that go directly up. So what it probably does take a little bit more pressure than you may think to get it all looking quite smart and neat. So at this point now, it's obviously quite secured. What I'm going to now do is basically tweak around a little bit. So we're kind of want the beam looking almost kind of dead upright, but still material to be quite firm. So I'm going to peg the beam initially there, go against it on the opposite side, and just make sure that I'm pulling that tension strap. The choice of the strap obviously means you're not going to oversplay the beam, and again you can get it looking in the right sort of shape. So hopefully later on in this video, when we add the sides to it, it should make it look a lot smarter all around. So then just peg the little corners down here just to keep it. Now those will be quite crucial to make sure they're nice and taut, because what we're relying on those is for the overlap of the front panel and also the side panel, which we'll touch on later. Both the side panels and the front panels are optional extras, so you kind of add them as and when you see fit. But for me, I think it's a really nice addition to the part. So it's not something that comes with it. Now, the panels come as a pair, and they're naturally left and right-handed. So you can utilise this quite happily, and as you can see, due to the height, we can open that door. And because of the height of the beam here, it's not actually brushing into that point there as such. Side panels, open them up. Now, actually, all they rely on is just clipping into the corner, into each corner for that matter. Right, so they are sort of left and right-handed. So what I would recommend doing is kind of open them fully up, look which way the kind of the slope tailors. In fact, that's the front panel. Completely ignore me. So that is the front panel. Now, are you going to be a side panel? You couldn't possibly be another front panel, could you? So what you should be seeing is kind of a flat edge, sort of a straight edge, and then a curved edge. So we've got our straight edge there and our curved edge. So that would then mean that this one is this point here. So I would start by making sure they're all quite nice and loose. If you need a step, obviously it makes life a lot easier, but you're just going to clip that directly into the top. You want kind of the curtain window, for example, on the inside of the actual part itself, and I would start by working your way along the roof. So we'll just tension that a little bit more, pop that clip in, move to the next one, and that way it just makes life a lot easier, and it's going to naturally kind of hang. And each of the actual point itself has got a webbing strap, so you can get additional tension on it as you need to. And even one located right down the bottom, again to give a bit extra torsion points down there and not having to rely on pegging points. Now it is going to vary obviously depending on kind of how tall your van is or how far it's off the ground. But ideally you want to kind of get it nice and tight to the point. If we're finding, like we have here, for example, you're sort of sitting a little bit further away, what I recommend doing is basically unpegging the base parts here, shift this kind of back, because really what's happening is that whole edge is a little bit too close, too far out, I should say. Naturally, you've got to struggle to probably get it dead tight, because on mine in particular, the awning rail kind of protrudes out a little bit. But from this point here, gives us a little opportunity to get that looking a bit smarter. And there is an excess on top, just to keep it a bit more together. There's also a little clip point that you clip directly on. And you never get a complete kind of watertight seal, basically because you're not really sealing anything directly against kind of the caravan itself. What we'll then do, we'll do the opposite side panels. So again, because they come as a pair, as you can see, there's a little sort of window built into each of the side panels, which work quite nicely. So again, you can get that element of privacy as and when you wanted to. So then all we're looking for is that black side, again, to make sure that is kind of on the vertical. We'll clip these initial parts in, working our way through. So you could say easily for a weekend you can quite happily put this up. You don't obviously have to go to the full level of putting all the parts up in one go. So if you sort of turn up to a site and you just want to get the canopy up, of course you can quite happily do that to save you the aggro, and then during the following day you can add the sides onto it just to kind of complete the whole range as such. Oops, easy. And the key thing is making sure you've also got enough baffle to cover it. So we just tension that up a little bit more. And again, we'll just unpeg that and just bring it back a little bit. That's the joys of it. You can quite easily kind of touch and tweak it as you go, just to make it sitting and short, making sure it's sitting a little bit kind of nicer from that point of view. You have got a middle tab as well, so not only can you kind of get it a bit kind of firmer, but you've got a middle point just located here to again give that extra bit of tension, just to make sure it is kind of sitting as you'd actually want it to. And then once we've got the sides in place, we can of course last one least put the front panelling. So again, you can obviously opt to go for this option, or you know, not for that matter. Again, what we want to try and look for is the middle point. So find the middle of the panel, i.e. where you got the kind of the Falcon sign. Clip this directly up into the roof of the awning itself, making sure again that the curtain is on the inside. Doesn't really matter if you go from right to left or left to right. Main thing is just kind of working your way around. The clip is right up the top there, so you want to really kind of go searching for it. By having it a little bit looser to start with, makes life a little bit easier when you come to just add a bit more tension to it. Get that clip fully at the top there. If you've got any more questions or queries, or want any more information on the awning, what you can do is check the link below this video. It will take you straight through to our website, where we've got more information at a touch of a button to make sure that everything is, you know, as you want it to be. Side one. And last but not least, the bottom one. So it's, like I said, a nice little option, give you something a bit more to make your home away from home. We've just got a couple of pegging points we can again Just go in here, adjust that up a little bit more, and then we just require last pegging point for the front, just to get our looking a little bit sharper. So very simple, very easy to do. Like I say, for more information, we've got a little video review you can check out as well, talking about more in-depth specifications, talking about different whips and all that malarkey. For more information, check the link below this video.